We got some shocking news this morning that the Denver Nuggets have fired head coach Mike Malone. This was being reported by Shams Charania. And like a lot of people, I was quite shocked to see that the Denver Nuggets have done this. But I also was just making sure this was actually a legitimate account and not a troll account as well. Like a lot of people woke up this morning, whether you're on West Coast or East Coast, it was quite surprising to hear this because we saw the Memphis Grizzlies fire their head coach about a week or two ago. And the Denver Nuggets obviously had a lot of success with Mike Malone, including winning a championship, but no one had expected this. There was no rumors. They came out of the blue. And not to mention that the Denver Nuggets have only 3 games remaining before the playoffs start. So it was obviously shocking to a lot of people. And my first initial reaction was, of course, whenever something like this happens, you always have to wonder if there is something that's happening behind the scenes that a lot of fans did not get to see. I did know that the Denver Nuggets head coach, Mike Malone, and their front office has not been on the same page for quite some time. And Evan Sidri confirmed this with his reporting that for over a year, Kelvin Booth and Mike Malone had a serious rift. For example, Malone wanted the Nuggets to re-sign Kentavious Caldwell Pope, but both Booth was ready to move on. Denver's ownership appeared to have reached their boiling point on the constant tensions between them. So my initial reaction was, okay, clearly, you know what, the general manager has had enough, and that is the reason why he has fired Mike Malone. But then we got some more shocking news just about 10 minutes later, and Shams Charania reported yet once again, full clean out. The Denver Nuggets are also firing general manager Calvin Booth. Sources tell ESPN Mike Malone and Booth are both out today. Now, if it wasn't bad enough that you fired the head coach just a few games before, the playoffs started, and obviously now you fired the general manager as well, this is just absolutely shocking news. You know what? It's one thing to fire the general manager and keep the coach or vice versa, but to fire both on the same day is quite a drastic move for an ownership. But like I said, I did have a feeling when we saw this tweet, all of us, I think we were all thinking it that, once Mike Malone was out, okay, maybe this is the doing of the front office. But once the front office was fired, it was quite obvious that the ownership has had enough. Again, still quite a shocking move to say the least. We haven't seen these kind of things in the NBA in the past. How often have we seen head coaches being fired in the past in the NBA? Not so often. And to see 2 head coaches, both in the Western Conference, being fired just like that, I think this just creates a new kind of trend. We see the NBA always calling kind of following trends, and it is very shocking to see obviously Mike Malone going, especially the position that the Denver Nuggets are in. If the Denver Nuggets were 7th or 8th place or even 6th, you could certainly make the argument. Now, look, they do only have 3 games remaining, and the West standings are super tight. They might just end up finishing 5th or 6th anyways, but still, it is quite a shocking move. Now, the Denver Nuggets have announced that they have assistant head coach David Eldman taking over. He is a good head coach, and he is very innovative with how he coaches. So do not be surprised if the Denver Nuggets do still play really well basketball. I mean, assistant coaches do not get the credit they deserve. And from, a Raptors fan that, fired the head coach of the year in Dwayne Casey, we had a lot of fans within the Raptors organization, Raptors team that questioned why would we fire Dwayne Casey to only hire his assistant. So again, do give David some credit and give him a little bit of a leash as well, because I do think he's going to do a good job with the Denver Nuggets. But it is still shocking to say the least. Most teams, if you're going to be firing head coaches, it's usually in mid-season, during the offseason, or even the beginning of the season if the season hasn't gone the way you wanted. But again, shocking to say the least. But we did get some more news regarding Calvin Booth, and this was Chris Haynes reporting that the Denver Nuggets and Calvin Booth failed to reach terms on an extension that both parties felt was satisfactory before the 2024-2025 season got underway. Sources tell me Booth, instrumental in helping the franchise capture a title, was on an expiring contract. So, okay, that makes a little bit more sense with their general manager. You fired him for that reason, but Mike Malone is still questionable. It is still questionable. Again, that is not to undermine what David could potentially do with the Denver Nuggets, but just given how the head coaches prepare this team the entire season, right? How he's done things in the past, how he's won the championship as well. So this kind of changes everything. And it's quite shocking, not because, not only because he was fired a few days before the playoffs started, but also just given their track history. He's been there for 10 plus years. He's done a phenomenal job of really developing their culture. And it's not as if, it's not like he benched Nikola Jokic. If he made a controversial move where he was benching your star players, then you could say maybe the star players aren't necessarily happy. Maybe Nikola Jokic made this call, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So Again, very surprising news. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. And I just want to leave you with this little fun thing I found on Google when looking up some information regarding this. This was a day ago. Someone posted on Reddit that David Aldman, next head coach, and he was saying he's acting as a head coach tonight for the Denver Nuggets. Mike Malone is back watching his daughter in the state volleyball. And again, do check the date on this because this was one day ago. And it kind of sucks for Mike Malone. He's watching his daughter and he gets fired. And kind of funny that, this person on Reddit kind of posted this a day ago. But again, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. So have a great day. And thanks so much for watching this video.